Hello, lovely ones. In our previous lesson, we have looked at injective functions. And we've seen that for functions that every member of the domain maps to a unique member in a codomain is an injective function. We also mentioned that the injective function is one-to-one function. My name is Nana Awedu, and you can call me Sir Nana. Remember to like this video, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that you can get all videos on time. In this lesson, we want to look at another type of function called the surjective function. We want to look at how practical this is in our real life using various ideas in businesses so that we can be able to understand it well. So now let's consider these various maps, right, or mappings. So when we look at these various mappings, we see members in a domain mapped to members in a codomain, right? So with this example, I could probably look at it in a form of you owning a restaurant in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, right? So let's imagine that you own a restaurant and then you sell all kinds of continental dishes. So in your restaurant, you have some orders. So you've coded the orders. S is pizza, right? Y is some assorted jollof, right? As some of you, I know you like assorted jollof a lot, right? And then the Z is some burger, right? And then let's see, the W is fried rice, normal fried rice. Now, the 1, 2, and 3 represent customers or clients. So let's say 1 is customer A, right? And then the 2 is customer B, right? And then the 3 is customer C. So when we look at it, you realize that customer A, which is the 1, bought both pizza, right, and assorted jollof. And then customer 2, or which is customer B, decided that he will purchase burger, right? And then customer 3 have purchased fried rice, right? So in this case, you realize that for the members in the domain, they are mapped to at least one member in the codomain. And there is no way you can have a restaurant and have orders and there is no client, right, mapping to a food that you are going to serve. So you are going to deliver this food to the client. Is there a way that you have a food that have been bought and have been paid probably through a mobile money service and you do not have a client to give it to, right? So for surjective functions, we say that at least every element in the codomain is mapped to at least one element in the domain, right? So every element in the codomain maps to at least one element in the domain. So with surjective function, you realize that the codomain also becomes the range of the function. So unlike in injective, where the members in the domain, right, is mapped to a unique member in the codomain, for surjective functions, the members in the codomain are mapped to at least one in the domain. So there is no member within the codomain that does not have a mapping, right, or that is not mapped to the members in the domain. As you can see here, we see that A, which is in the codomain, is mapped to 3 and 4, or has its domain 3 and 4. And then B as well has 2, and then D has 1. So you realize that the codomain here is also the same as the range of the function. And we call the surjective function an onto function, right? So another name for the surjective function is an onto function. So a definition for surjective function, we say a surjective function, also called the onto function, is a function where every element, right, in the codomain is mapped to at least one element in the domain, as we have demonstrated. Every element in the codomain is mapped to at least one element in the domain. So as we mentioned, for surjective functions, the codomain becomes the range of the function, as we have explained. So because the codomain, every member in the codomain is mapped to at least one in the domain, then the codomain becomes the same as the range of the function. Now we want to consider how we can test for surjective functions graphically. So basically, for surjective functions, we do the horizontal line test. So let's look at how we can test for surjective functions graphically. So we have these graphs here, and to be able to test for it graphically, we would want to put a line, right, or draw a line on various parts of the functions. So we could draw a line on the various parts of the functions. So let's draw a line. We draw a line here, right? We could move it as well and draw another line here. And then we move it and draw a line. So we are drawing as many horizontal lines as possible, right? So the horizontal line test. Now, you realize that for the surjective functions, if a function should be surjective, then it means that the horizontal line should touch only one point, right? So with this function, you realize that the horizontal line touches 2 points. Here, it touches 2 points on the curve. Here, it touches 2 points on the curve. This side as well, it touches 2 points. So therefore, we see that quadratic curves or quadratic functions, right? Functions that are in the form as squared plus bs plus c, right, are not surjective. Right, functions that are in the form as squared plus bs plus c are not surjective. Right, and in this function, if we given a function f of x is equal to s cubed plus s squared. So when we perform the horizontal line test, as has been done here, we see that it touches 3 points. So we see 1 point here, another point here, and another point here. So once it touches the graph or the line or the curve at 3 different points, then it means that we say it is also not surjective, right? It is not surjective, right? And then we say this function as well is not surjective by the horizontal line test, right? So once we have an understanding of how we can graphically test for surjective functions, let's probably label these functions as C, right, and as Z. And pause the video, do the horizontal line test, and ensure that you have actually been able to determine whether these functions are surjective or not. So try and pause the video for this, pause them, go through these functions, and then using the horizontal line test, determine whether these functions are surjective. I want to see the answers in the comment section so that we can have a discussion there. So basically, in this lesson, we have considered surjective functions, and we mentioned that for surjective functions, we say that each element in the codomain is mapped to at least one element in the domain. And we say that the range of the surjective function is the same as the domain, or the domain of a surjective function is the same as the range. Remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. In our next lesson, we'll be looking at the inverse of a function. See you soon.